Hello and welcome to Cooking with Anand. Today we have special guests,
Mickey, Sophia,
and Blake.
We are also doing a special take on Girl Scout cookies. We are making
Samoas,
And Thin Mints.
Yay! First, we preheated the oven to 350 degrees. Now that that's done, we're going to grate our fresh coconut.
and we are using a fancy coconut grater. However, you could also just buy unsweetened coconut flakes from the store. You want to get as much of the inside as you can without getting into the shell.
Now you take your 2 cups of shredded coconut and place it into any baking dish.
For this recipe, you'll probably only need about a cup and a half of the coconut, grated coconut. However, it's always good to have extra in case the consistency of your caramel and the finished product isn't thick enough.
Make sure you stir occasionally when baking. Now we're going to put some butter and sugar into a bowl.
For the shortbread in the Samoa, make sure it's room temperature butter. It should be very, very soft.
Whisk until creamed. And don't forget to stir your coconut up as demonstrated now. Stir, 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 stir. Everybody likes to stir, stir, stir. Now you're going to add in an egg. And you're going to continue to whisk.
Just until the yolk is no longer visible.
And now Anand's going to add in some vanilla. Ooh.
And continue to mix.
Here we have flour, baking soda, and salt that we're going to sift into our wet ingredients.
You could also just mix these in a separate bowl with a whisk and then add them into your wet ingredients.
Keep mixing until dry bits of flour are no longer visible or there. And earlier I meant to say baking powder instead of baking soda, so don't mix those up. I completely mixed all of those ingredients up.
And now what you want to do is, if it still looks crumbly, you want to add in a little bit of milk, probably about a tablespoon, and continue mixing. And we are going to refrigerate this for about 10 minutes.
And also, don't forget to stir your coconut again, friendly reminder. Now we are going to start on the caramel or caramel.
So the coconut is still in the oven and the dough is still resting, so now is the perfect time to start on it.
And we do not stir the sugar, and we wait until it melts.
Well, first you got to put the sugar in the saucepan.
Which we did.
And then you put it on medium heat.
Medium heat.
And you will start to see it melt. And at that point you can swirl the pan. The dough has been chilling in the fridge for about 10 minutes, and now onto a floured surface with a without floured rolling pin, with flour also on top of the dough. We are going to roll it out, and be careful because it is very gentle.
Now we're going to cut our very thin dough into the shape of Samoas with this cookie cutter.
And the dough is about 1/8 of an inch thick. And that is a large cutter that is about 2.5 inches in diameter. And with these circles, sorry Mickey, what I'm going to do is go in with a smaller circle to cut out the middle.
After a lot of time, the caramel or sugar should start to look a bit like this.
It will start bubbling like this, and at this point you want to be keeping constant attention of it because the temperature will rise
like
fast.
A baby.
And you want to reduce the heat to very low temperature, and as soon as it hits 325 degrees, you want to add in your cream. Now that you've added in the cream, what you want to do is add in your cold butter, and that should melt very quickly in there. Just stir it up.
Now all the cookies, and now we're transferring them to a tray that has
parchment paper on it.
Put about half of the slightly cooled but still workable caramel mixture into the coconut.
Stir it until it is completely mixed through the coconut, and then after that's done, you want to check and see if the consistency is okay, in which case if it's a little bit too dry, add some more caramel. Your caramel and coconut mixture should look something like this. It should be very thick, and it's almost like a dough. And you still want to wait for it to cool because it's a little bit too hot to work with at this point. You want to keep your leftover remaining caramel over very low heat so it still stays a little bit gooey, because we're going to use that later. And you want to create little logs out of your cooled coconut mixture. You really want to make sure it's cooled before you get your hands into it, because this stuff can lead to a nasty burn, like hospital burn. So just roll it out into about 4 to 5 inch logs, and then we can put it on our Samoas. So we have this still liquidy caramel, and I'm going to just spread a tiny bit of this onto our cookie. And it doesn't have to be neat at this point because this won't be visible later. Make sure it's still not super hot, but still a little hot. And with our little log, you want to just kind of create a little circle around the Samoa, as Mickey has just so wonderfully done, and push it together really well.
Now we're going to dip them in some melted dark chocolate.
On your dipped cookies, you just want to take a fork and quickly drizzle the top to give it that signature Samoa look.
And this may get a bit messy.
Very messy.
Very messy.
But that's okay. Nothing that can't be licked off
Okay.
is not a mess to me. We just finished with the Samoas, and if you notice, our countertop and our stove is still a little bit messy. But now's a good time to make them because the surface will already be floured for when we roll out our Thin Mints.
So now we're going to take the butter and the sugar and whisk them together
until they are well creamed, just like the Samoas. Wait until the sugar and butter looks white and is very fluffy. We are going to add in our egg. The mixture is really nice and fluffy, and we are going to start on our dry ingredients.
So now we're going to add the cocoa powder and the flour together, and we're going to put them into a sifter and then add them to the mixture we have previously made.
And you also want to add in the salt. Roll your Thin Mint dough out just as you did before with the Samoa dough.
And now we're going to cut the Thin Mints out with the same circular cutter we used for the Samoas.
We have transferred our cookies that we have finished cutting onto this baking sheet, and they are going to go into a pre-100, 350 degree oven for about 13 minutes. If you would like, you can take a cookie cutter to reshape the cookies if they lose their pizzazz during baking. And now what you want to do is dip them in some chocolate that has been melted, and we will be all good.
And now we are ready to taste the wonderful cookies we have made.
We're going to start with the Samoas. Yay. Ooh la la.
Very
Yeah.
caramely and chocolatey.
It
That's
is,
what's supposed to be in it, so it's good.
and
It
it's
tastes
easy
like
to
that.
bite. It's not hard.
The Samoas were phenomenal.
Now we're trying the Thin Mints.
And for the Thin Mints, I suggest you bake only one cookie at first, and see if the peppermint is good enough, and then add
Ooh
more
la
peppermint
la.
if you want more.
So it's like heaven in my mouth, but
Thank
better.
Bye!
Thank you for having us on Cooking with Lon. I'm Blake.
Sophia. And Mickey.
Bye. Join us next episode.